into a lot of trouble because guests arrive and they go, no, we want the white apartment that you showed in your video. And we go, well, and that's literally Broadbeach across the road from us. So that's actually our swimming pool. That was an undercover barbecue area. The little cyclone took the roof off. But it will be going on soon. The Goldie as we know it. Photographer also like the white apartment. But obviously every apartment is individually owned, so they're all very different. And that's quite problematic because people kind of like going in and everything's the same. So when they go in and it's different, one likes green carpets and one doesn't. But, you know, every one of our apartments is individually owned. So that's our location across the road from the beach. And there we are there. We've got the lovely black building next to us that was just recently unveiled. Alright, so that's Boulevard North. And just a little bit about our building. It was built in 1982, so she's an old lady. 19 floors, 58 apartments. 37 apartments are in our letting pool, 35 holidays, and 2 permanent. We have 12 owner-occupiers. That, for everything we do for our business, we don't look after owner-occupiers. They're supposed to look after themselves. They think you're their concierge. They think that you should know where their husband and their dog and their family are. They are honestly they are walking nightmares. They genuinely are. And then we've got 6 lock-up apartments and 2 outside letting agents. They're even worse than the owner-occupiers. They seriously are. You obviously don't. No, she's a property manager.
She's not a problem.
Animal.
Okay, cool.
Different animal. Your outside letting agents, with the greatest of respect to the industry, because I've been there, put a person in. They don't do the necessary checks. The person moves in with their dog, their budgie, their drug addict friends, and you, the manager on site, who is earning absolutely nothing out of the apartment, is expected to manage it. You're expected to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning when they've gone out, got themselves drunk, and have come in and have locked their key and locked themselves out of their apartments. So they are even worse than the owner-occupiers. And interestingly enough, from an insurance point of view, Craig, we are not covered to go into anybody's apartments, but the guys we've got Form 6s for. So we actually can't get involved. If you're an owner-occupier, a lock-up apartment, or a person living in another rental unit in somebody else's letting pool, we actually can't assist you, literally. And people really battle to understand it.
So is it possible that you can then charge the owner to say, look, as a service, we're happy to look after your apartment, but this is a set fee, or can you not offer that kind of thing? So then that way take the pressure off you.
AJ, they're not interested.
They're not interested.
And it's a normal situation in a building like this that there would be a fee to let the person in. Well, I want to see you at 3 o'clock in the morning trying to get $150 under somebody who's drunk or drugged up or something like that. We've just got to a point where we know who our owners, our letting guys are, and we don't answer the phone for the others. Because quite honestly, if it is an emergency, they should be calling the emergency services. We are not qualified, we are not covered by insurance to handle it, and you actually get to a point where you actually become you have to become very clear, because otherwise those lines get very blurred, and obviously everybody oversteps those lines. So that's another thing. And then obviously our manager's apartment. Our on-site facilities include a sauna, a barbecue area, heated swimming pool, spa, full-size tennis court, garden, and then our gate across. Interestingly enough, we're due to go through refurbishments on all of those facilities. It's going to be a 16-week program, and we're now trying to find a time where it can be done. It should have been done in winter. We're obviously now coming to the end of winter and hopefully into summer. So that's going to be an interesting exercise at Boulevard. Okay, so we bought the management rights in July 2019, and we took over the business in October 2019. And management rights is a very, very interesting business module. Unlike anything else, it started here in Queensland and it has now gone across to New South Wales. Nothing like this in Africa. And in fact, in the rest of the world, it's kind of starting to pick up, but it is literally an Australian business module. Very interesting. Bit of information on that. You pay a fortune to buy a business, to buy the management rights for a building. And when I say it's a fortune, it really is. And in most of them, you have to also buy the apartment you live in, because you have to be on site 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For the privilege of buying into the business, things that we never realized when we bought in, and I'll do that in the pros and cons, you sold a lifestyle that really is very different to what it sounds. And you buy in and basically you have no say in the apartment block. So although you're an owner, you actually don't have the rights of an owner on body corp. So it's a very, very interesting business module. And I think for me the biggest con, and as I say, I will cover that later on, is the fact that your business only exists in that building. If you lose an apartment out of your letting pool, I can't go to the apartment next door and replace that letting pool because my rights are only for that building. So it's interesting, but I'll go over that in the cons. Okay, so what is management rights? Management rights is a business that gives the exclusive right to an individual or company to fulfill the role of caretaker and also to operate a letting business of units within the complex on behalf of the lot owner within a scheme. And guys, you've never seen caretaker, a word that can be so ambiguous. Honestly, I didn't know that caretaker could be an ambiguous word. It is, because everybody's understanding of what you do as a caretaker is very different. And that's another area that needs to be very clearly defined as to what a caretaker is. Our understanding is that anything that the body corp has put in or installed is what we look after as a caretaker. The business usually requires the manager to live at the complex as a resident, take care of common property on behalf of the body corporate, let units in the complex on a retail basis as a letting manager. So both Chris, myself, and Donna, our daughter, are all full registered estate agents. So we can let, we can sell, we can do absolutely anything. We can fulfill the same role. And Campbell, I'm a qualified auctioneer as well. So that was something I just did for the fun of it. Okay, when you buy management rights, you're buying the rights contained in the contract, which is a caretaking agreement and a letting agreement. And interesting, you sign two separate agreements to carry out a business in conjunction with the body corporate, the collective body of owners within the complex, and then obviously those contracts differ. Okay, so the pros and cons. The pros I think is that it's a very interesting business, and people are entrusting an expensive investment for you to actually look after on their behalf. So from that perspective, it is also quite an established business in Queensland, and for me, the biggest pro in the business is the amazing people we've met who are actually in the same industry as we are. It's a very kind industry, it's a very caring industry, because we all kind of go through the same difficulties. So we've met the most amazing people. The value of the business, you can grow it if you can grow your letting pool. And then obviously, it's a very varied business. You're meeting different people all the time from different walks of life. And it really is, if you've got the capital to invest in it, it's a very interesting business model. The cons of the business is that obviously in times like COVID, we have very little control over our business. We've had, Boulevard North has been a very, very stable business. It's had very few sales over the years. In fact, when we took over the business, I think it was something like 78% of our owners were owners from the day that the building came on the market. So it was very stable. In this year alone, we've had, I think it's 12 sales. And then that's when your letting pool, people sell, because everybody's coming up from Victoria and New South Wales, they're moving in, they're coming in as the dreaded owner-occupiers. Your letting pool goes down, that decreases the value, because the value of the business is worked out on a factor of the amount of letting pool you've got and the income that letting pool brings you. So I think that is the con. The other con is anybody who's worked with body corporates. Body corporates just seem to be a magnet for a certain type of person, and very often with respect to our male counterparts, it's a guy who's been an incredibly powerful lawyer, who's had 30 people in the office running after him and saying yes to no, so 6 bags full, sir, and now he's retired, he's living on the Gold Coast and he's as bored as hell, doesn't know what to do with his time, and goes, I'll be on the body corporate and I'll make everybody's life hell. And really, you get people coming down with the most amazing expectations, and I think that's the difficult part of it. And then, of course, when we all get together and we live in a big group, there's not going to be harmony. It's just the human race. And then you kind of piggy in the middle trying to sort out, well, hold on a moment, he hasn't actually parked on your parking line. There's actually 2 centimeters before your parking line. And it really, guys, gets as bad as that at times. So it's fun. Chris does that because he's the negotiator and he's the guy who goes, it's really not so bad if his tires on your white line. It's really okay. So Chris does that for us, and Chris does the negotiations with Body Corp. He's got a Body Corp meeting today because he can sit there and go, yes, it's fine, and I go, crazy idea. So we've had to very carefully define our roles, because in this industry, you know, there are certain times that you've got to go and other times where you've got to go no. So we've been okay, we've been able to define our roles. Okay, so a little bit about us. We were both born in Johannesburg, South Africa, and as you all know at the moment, South Africa is unfortunately burning. So we would appreciate your prayers and concerns for our families back there. We are actually citizens of Botswana, which is a small landlocked country just north of South Africa. It actually borders on there. Chris is a qualified civil engineer specializing in waste management. So when you were talking about your waste management thing, Chris is consulted and was actually taken from South Africa. How we got to Botswana was the German government, through GTZ, which is their cooperation arm, was actually looking for somebody who was a South African, an African specialist on waste management, and they tracked Chris down, and we actually went up to Botswana on a contract with the German government. And Chris was instrumental in actually writing the Botswana Waste Management Act. And then we stayed there, and both Chris and I consulted, and Chris has been very active in consulting on the latest Belgium non-burn technology for actual incineration plants and things like that. I'm a marketing and public relations qualification, and my speciality is shopping centres and multi-usage centres. Both of us hold a master's in strategic management from the University of Derby in the UK, and our reason for doing that was both Chris and I like sharing our experience, and we both wanted to actually lecture, and your minimum qualification for lecturing in certain countries is a master's. So we both did it in strategic management, absolutely love it. We've both lectured in our respective specialities, and both of us actually ran waste management companies in Botswana. So that was interesting. We were actually in competition with each other. It was a brilliant race. It was such fun. And it really was.
We lost.
we had an all-girls team. It was amazing. I was asked to run the waste management company by my husband and the guy he consulted to. They decided that they needed another company. And my response was, sure, we'll do it for you with pleasure, just you can't get involved. And they said, okay, no problem, go for it. And it was such fun. I got an all-girls team together. We were bright lime green, and we painted Botswana green. It was such fun. And then eventually the guy who actually was Chris's partner came and said, no, we need to buy you out. Okay, we've got one daughter, Donna, who's recently qualified with the BSc in architectural study at Bond, and she'll be doing her master's in 2022. Okay, and the future. We would like to return to our areas of expertise, being waste management and strategic management. We'd love to see Donna qualified and on her own. And for us, we'd love Australia to be home. So thank you for your time and patience.